You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark, and I'm here with Hyung and with John for episode number 23. Now, off the top, there was a small piece of news that you might have missed, but it was reported this past week that Topps just lost the WWE Wrestling Trading Card license to Panini. So, I don't know if any of us are huge wrestling fans, but instead of focusing on the WWE license, I wanted to just focus on Topps. It seems this iconic company can't catch a break these days, right? They lost their MLB license to Fanatics, which starts in 2026. We heard that before, of course.
Right.
So I want to ask you guys, do you think this is the beginning of the end for Topps, or can Topps still reinvent itself to remain relevant in the hobby? What do you guys think?
This is a tough one because, yeah, it's like it kind of is the beginning of the end, yeah. given that they're losing their licensing for, in 2024 with baseball, but 2026. But yeah, I'll tell you what, like Bowman Chrome, what I've noticed, like they've loaded it, like just recently, just with younger prospects. They're releasing a lot more position players, a lot of shortstops. I'm finding outfielders in these newer products. So it's interesting to see their game plan on that, because in previous years, I find like even Bowman Chrome was kind of like a subpar set, right? It was flagship, the Bowman that liked it. But now I feel like they're a little more aggressive with that stuff. So I'm seeing a little more, I guess, positive in that sense. But I don't know if it's for panic or whatnot. But it's gonna be interesting to see in the next 5-6 years how they're gonna like recover, from this, because Topps, I mean, baseball's like that's what Topps is, right? All the iconic cards are pretty much Topps Bowman, and yeah, it's sad to even think that that's even a possibility, but we're seeing it day by day that this is kind of like how reality's setting in, right? So, as obviously as a hobbyist, this is what you don't want, right? It's sad to even talk about this. It's like, why are we even talking about this? But I'm seeing a positive in products like Bowman Chrome. I think Bowman Chrome 2021 is like an unbelievable product that's underrated. So,
do you think they're trying to cash out while they can?
I'm thinking they're signing more contracts, and they're doing it at a younger age. There's guys in that roster that haven't even played a minor league game, right? They're 17 years old, or they just started, or they just signed like a $2-3 million contract. Before, you wouldn't see those too many unless they're like huge international prospects, right? Where you're number one or number two, right? You're Adrian Beltre's and stuff like that, right? So
right.
Okay.
Here's a stupid question, but are prospects a part of the MLBPA?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good question, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're all covered under, because they're under major league teams, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, man. WWE. I'm not sure how big the market is, but it's. I think it feels like it's growing. There's a lot of interest. Obviously, there's a lot of interest on some of the older products. Like, we're all used to. I think everyone was into WWF/WWE back in the day with The Rock and Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan. So you'll see those cards or those characters of cards selling for a premium. I don't know about the new WWE. Like, I'm pretty sure it's still popular, but I'd have to imagine more in the southern United States, more so than like in Canada and like New York and LA and stuff like that. But man, if I just looking at the Topps website, they're going to lose WWE. They have UEFA Champions League, Garbage Pail Kids, Star Wars, F1, right? Like, what else do they have? So it is, this is one less thing on their roster. Who knows how big of a hit this is, but it's kind of like what you guys said off the top. It does feel a bit sad, and it does feel like it's like the start of the demise of Topps. So a part of you does feel kind of sad for them. Who knows, man? Like we've joked around about like Ninja Turtles Topps Chrome. Like that might become a possibility. Like truthfully, like they might start digging for all sorts of licenses to try to revive the product, right? So yeah.
The Raphael Red Refractor.
Absolutely. That's fire, man.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in previous episodes. Like, if Topps can stay relevant, it looks like they would have to acquire licenses for alternative things, right? Like WWE and Star Wars, and and such entertainment, anything entertainment value wise. But if they're losing WWE, if this is the early signs of the trajectory they're going on, it doesn't seem good. And the only thing I think that might save them, quote unquote, is their brand, right? I think if they just hold on to their brand recognition, especially with baseball, like we were talking about, they might be in a perfect situation to be bought out for a lot of money. And that might be their best case scenario. Maybe Fanatics, right? We talked about that before too. That's a likely scenario as well. The Fanatics will buy out Topps for their brand. So
I think that's the way you keep everybody happy, right? Like, but at the end of the day, that's probably Fanatics' last thought too, right? It's like they probably thought of something that is it's like, why are we doing this the old way? We're gonna totally change it, right? There's that side too. So yeah, I mean, it could be ideal that Fanatics buys off Topps, and you keep the Topps and Bowman First products because they're so iconic and they're great. True. You're gonna keep the hobbyists engaged as well, so you're not gonna lose them as well, right? So
if I were a betting man, I think I would assume Fanatics would go after Topps first and foremost. Like that makes the most sense, right? Like if you're gonna launch all three licenses, it makes sense. Topps baseball is Topps baseball. That's been the classic. And then you're going to get Topps Chrome basketball, and you're going to get Topps Chrome football. Like, I mean, that would be every hobbyist's dream to have those products back, right? So I would imagine the wheels are in motion. In fact, like complete speculation on my part. But if I were Fanatics, I would definitely be targeting Topps.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to say it's all speculation on our part, but it's fun to play that game. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. All right, cool. Let's move on then to this week's hobby headlines. So here in Toronto, we got the Sports Card Expo coming up from November 11 to 14. And I know several of us are going after a long hiatus of not being able to go to live card shows due to the pandemic, of course. And I know for many, this will be the first time going to a show. So I thought we could discuss any tips on preparing for the show. And for those of us who have gone before, what are your main goals when you go to a card show? Do you primarily go to find good deals and buy? Or do you go to sell or trade? Or do you go off to drop off your cards to get grading done on site? Or do you go to network with other collectors? Or a little bit of everything? So I want to start with you, Hyung. You've been to some shows before, like I have. What do you normally try to get out of local card shows when you go?
I think you mentioned it all there.
Okay.
I think it's a bit of everything, to be honest. But no. I think just the whole atmosphere, the experience. But here's the thing: it's changing.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
It's changing like crazy. And one thing I will say, if you're going, is bring a lot of cash. I know that sounds. I think a lot of people make this mistake, and this is a common mistake that I guess new guys, because a lot of guys are making deals. They're there to make deals. And a lot of it is high end stuff, right? They're looking to deal high end stuff, and if you think about it, like high end cards, they cost a pretty penny. So if let's just say you bring $10,000, right? It could run out really, really quick, faster than you would think, right? So I think prepping for that, like maybe it's doing some research and targeting cards that you might want. Maybe it's liquidating some cards to free up some cash, beforehand, and also just doing your research on what cards card values are. So you're constantly in the know. You're not constantly checking to see if, you know, it's a good deal or not. You kind of know what to expect and know your stuff. And like you said, the networking is awesome. You meet new people. I've met like multiple people that I've never met just through, you know, Instagram and stuff like that. So it's cool, you know, putting, you know, a name to the face and stuff like that. So it's a great networking event. And I think card shows are only going to get stronger. You know, there's a lot more companies like Relic, for instance. I got an email. Relics is in Toronto. It's a local card store. They're having a trade night or whatever, right? So it's like they're being creative around these things. And you guys remember, it's like we don't like. When we went to card stores, you know, pre-COVID, it was totally different. You go to the Toronto Convention Center and it was 90% hockey, right? You had a few select guys with that did baseball, but the game's changed so much, especially like basketball, for instance, right? There's so many more, you know, basketball collectors here locally in Toronto now as well, right? So I think the game is definitely changing. But if there's one tip, is bring a lot of cash. I think that's one common thing that everybody kind of misses the target on. They under budget always. They don't have enough cash to make the deals that they want to do, right? So yeah, bring your slabs and bring cash.
Good advice. Good advice.
Good tip. Another small tip I heard that I don't have any experience in card shows, but I heard to bring an extra battery or bring a battery charger for your phone.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's true. 100%. Or like one of those portable ones.
Yeah. Man, I haven't been to a card show since I think I was 15 years old. And it was I'm pretty sure it was at the same card show at the airport.
Yeah.
But
At the Toronto Convention Center. Yeah.
I'm being
Airport.
cooped up because of COVID and not being able to travel to the States to some of these shows. Like, man, I'm pumped up to go. I think Hyung and I, we just got back a monster pile of slabs from PSA Grading. Ideally, I would love to wheel and deal, trade, upgrade some of those cards. I don't know who is going to take some of my smaller slabs. I might be some of these veterans listening are going to be like, oh man, you're in for a rude awakening. You're not going to be able to move any of that stuff. But ideally, I would love to start to trade up into things and try and wheel and deal as much as possible, even if it means trading two $50 slabs for a $100 slab and then walking around and taking that $100 slab with another $100 slab, turning it to 200 and just kind of grinding all the way up. I don't know how much time I'll have, but that is the plan so far. We'll see how it goes.
Nice. Yeah, I'm pumped too. Like, it's been a long time, and like you said, Hyung, right off the top, the hobby's changing so much that I feel like this show that's coming up is going to feel a lot different than the one I went to 2-3 years ago.
For sure.
Pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty excited about the energy that I'm expecting to be there. I know like some of our friends that are going for the first time as well, or haven't gone to a show in years, like yourself, Johnny. And and they're bringing that excitement, like the newcomer excitement to the shows as well. So it's always great to connect with fellow collectors in person, and with dealers, and with local card shops as well. And like, I think it's also a good opportunity if you're looking to trade, sell, or buy. Like, calculate the 10% you save from not transacting on eBay. And I think that if you keep that in mind, you can find good deals that way too. And you get the card right away. Like, that's what I love about card shows too. You don't have to worry about shipping. You can make a trade right on the spot. You could transact right on the spot, switch cash, and bring a lot of cash for sure if you want those big ticket items. Because the thing with the hobby too, there's going to be plenty of big ticket items on the floor,
right? For sure.
So, and I'm looking forward to, we joked about this before too in our, one of our way earlier episodes. Like, I'm looking forward to a show where it's not predominantly hockey, like it has been in Toronto card shows for a while, like baseball and basketball for sure. And, something I do kind of really quickly, because there's a lot of tables. You'll see the space at these card shows, especially at the airport, is pretty big. So unless you go multiple days, trying to hit all of the stalls and paying attention to all of the stalls, like, it's virtually impossible. you'll run out of
Right,
time,
right.
or you got to spend the whole day there. And I don't know if you have the full day to spend at the card show. So, one little trick is like you look at cards that you already kind of know ballpark figures to. Maybe it's the Luka Doncic base prism PSA 10. You're like, it's about 700-800 US, so maybe 1,000 Canadian. And you can see like which dealers are really marking it up or which dealers are going by eBay comps. And if you see like a Luka Doncic base prism PSA 10 going for 1,500-1,600 at a table, maybe that's not the table that you're going to spend a lot of time in because they're already overpricing. Right. So that's a quick tip. Who knows? They might have a mad sale on another card, but it's fair. I think it's almost fair to say, like, if you know a popular card and it's priced way too high, the rest of the table might be that way as well.
Yeah.
And if you find one that's a fair comp, maybe you could find other cards that are in that ballpark, and you can negotiate probably more easily with those kind of dealers that go by eBay comps, right? So So just another tip. And I know there's a joke out there, like some dealers hate it when you bring up eBay comps, like the idea of eBay comps, but sorry, man, like how are you supposed to gauge current market value? It's what we go on. Right?
It's the fine line between that and the guy who wants 40% off eBay comps.
Right.
Yeah. Buying at 40%. Yeah. So are we all.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else regarding the card show coming up? Anything you're looking forward to?
I think grading too, it's going to be interesting. It's going to, like, because I bet you there's going to be HGA booth or, SGC booth. You're going to have your BGS and PSA booths. Right. So it'll be interesting to see, I'm sure there'll be sales reps and staff on site. So I think one of the stuff I always did was I liked the fact that I could, go face to face with the rep and drop my cards off and submit my cards as well locally. I don't know. I didn't read too much into it and seeing if they're expecting or if they're doing express services on site grading for that weekend. But I think it's a good time to bring in some raw cards as well, and maybe seeing your options in grading and saving on some shipping and a little peace of mind as well.
Yeah.
If you have a monster card, I think trying to grade it at the show is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like you're saving on insurance costs, like I had, like from my experience, I had one of my Shaq rookies like damaged on the way to PSA.
Right.
I thought it was going to be a PSA
right.
10, turned into a PSA 7. Like you don't have to take that risk, right? Of what the card might happen, like during shipping and all that stuff. So
yeah. And I think I do believe that at least PSA is providing that express service, and I'm sure it's going to be very popular. So if you do have a monster card that you want to get graded, like go there as early as possible.
Right.
Because like I went to a show on Sunday, like the 2-3 years ago that I went to, and yeah, like a lot of those grading services are just booked. They're not accepting it by Sunday.
Shut down.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
So yeah, go Thursday VIP package if you have the funds to go the full 4 days, or go Friday morning if you can. I know some of us work, but yeah, good advice for sure. Yeah, no, it should be a fun show. Yeah, by the time this airs, it'll be, I think, a day before.
That week.
Yeah, it'll be that week, right? It'll be the day before or 2 days before. So maybe we'll do a recap on a future show. See if we struck out or see if we made some mad deals. Yeah, we'll see. I want to see what Johnny does. Actually, he's got a bunch of slabs.
Yeah.
See if he.
I'll let you know. I'm coming with a huge backpack, so I'll let you guys know.
The PSA backpack, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Okay, so let's move on then to our next segment, which is a new segment, and it's called Double Down. So it's kind of the opposite of our Dead Wrong segment, which we did last week, and we've done a couple times previously. But Double Down is investments in the hobby we've made that we were right about, whether it's a hot player or a prospect or a hot card, and we're looking to buy more of their cards instead of cashing out. Or maybe you're just really bullish on a player still, and you're looking to add that player to your collection, to your investment portfolio, so to speak. So which card or player do you guys have that you're looking to double down on?
For me, it's definitely Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Like, he was a guy that I kind of went in on pretty heavy when he had a disappointing, I guess, 2019 season. I don't see it disappointing. The guy was like 19 years old, 20 years old. What do you expect, right? It's like, what were you doing when you were 19 years old, you know? But yeah, he was really cheap, and I got a lot of like color refractors for, you know, dirt cheap that, you know, that obviously multiplied exponentially. And then, but I still think it's cheap. You know, I still think there's opportunities in the off season where like I decide to cash out on some of my Vladdies, but then the more I think about it, it's like I don't want to sell these numbered cards because, you know, if I cash out, like I want to buy more Vladdy because I still think he's a great buy, right? So for me, definitely Vladdy Guerrero Jr. I went early on him, and I still think he's a buy in the off season. I think he's a very fun guy to watch, especially if you actually watch baseball. And this is another important point. It's like we wouldn't be having these conversations if they weren't long-term mindset investments, right? Yeah. Like with the mindset of going in long-term, because obviously if you're just in it to flip it, you're not going to basically re-enter to buy in, right? So like I said, stick to your guns. You know, if you truly believe in that player, you know, definitely double down is the play on certain players and long-term investments, because like I said, there's going to be volatility between each year. But if you're looking at it from an annual perspective, or you believe in the talent for the future, there's no reason why, you know, buying in at the right time and selling some at the right time as well is a smart short-term and long-term play, right? So for me, it's going to be Vladdy. Double down and I'm buying him even more. I think he's cheap. I still think he's cheap. So
I like it. Yeah,
that makes sense. I wish I could say double down Vladdy, but I unfortunately didn't buy too many Vladdies when he was cheap, so I can't say the same thing. So my greatest, you know, if we're talking about dead right,
right,
my greatest investment so far is the other guy in the card explosion, which was Ohtani. So I picked up. I don't remember when it was, probably like November 2020 or something like that. I picked up the Ohtani Sapphire PSA 10 for $370.
Wow, that's hot.
And and I flipped it not too long ago, about maybe 2 months ago, for $4K in a trade.
Nice. That's awesome.
So that was, so that was my greatest profit so far. And in terms of doubling down, I think so. I think Ohtani's cards, if they haven't gone down already, they're probably going to come down this offseason. And I don't think I'm going to get back into the Sapphire. I'd like to get, like, Ohtani's cards is hard to double down on because they're just so expensive if you're not buying base, and I'm not really in the mood to buy base. But I talked about this briefly in a previous show. I think his SP and SSP images aren't that iconic yet, so I don't think they're garnering that much attention. So in terms of the Ohtani world, I feel like the SPs and SSPs are great targets. So that's probably a card that, like, I personally really want the 2018 update US1 SSP, the one where he's following through on his batting.
That's a sweet card.
I know it's still pretty pricey, but if that card can come down to a price that I'm liking, that's probably a card I would try to pick up.
So Shohei for you, Vladdy for Hyung. I am going with Bo Bichette, Toronto pick. I actually was going to go with Mahomes, but I realized I don't have a Mahomes, so I can't double down. But listen, we had that episode last week about Mahomes, if we are panicking on him yet, and we're overwhelmingly not panicking on him. And since then, he had another mediocre game. You know, I think they just barely won another game. So, yeah, if I had one, I'm still trying to double down on Mahomes. Maybe he'll
absolutely.
Maybe he's a card I'm going to look for at the card show the next week. So we'll see.
That's a good call. Yeah.
But because I don't have Mahomes, it doesn't qualify for a double down pick for me. But I am going with Bichette. I realize it's another homer pick. We chose 2 Toronto Blue Jays out of the 3 here in this podcast. But Bichette, if you look at what he's done and the fact that I still feel like he's overshadowed by Vladdy's monster year, like he's cheap. I actually lost on an auction for one of his Bowman Chrome first autos, a BGS 9.5. I think it's sold for like $600-700. Like I feel like that's still pretty damn cheap. And I think if Bichette has another year like this year, where he has double, almost 30 homers, almost 30 steals, 300 batting average, like I could see that hit 4 figures easy. And and Bichette has a lot of cool rookie cards out there, especially autographed rookie cards, like to choose from, right? There's different price points, and I think all of them can have the potential to rise, so I think Bichette's one of those guys that is just being tremendously undervalued in the hobby, and
absolutely.
So I'm doubling down on Bichette. So yeah, that's my pick.
Nice. I'm waiting for his prices to go up.
Because I've
been waiting.
You already have a bunch.
Yeah, no, I was always a huge Bichette fan, and I think 100% he gets overshadowed by Vladdy, right? So it's interesting to see though, because I think we're gonna realize come spring it's gonna be totally different, right? It's gonna be whoever's hot out the gate, the prices are just gonna start to soar, and I could see that happening with both, all 3 actually, and that's the scary part though. It's like you on the flip side, take Ohtani for instance. Let's just say he comes out of the gate and he doesn't do well. It's like we use that kind of like that fantasy baseball day trading logic, and his prices tank, right? So also on the flip side, having a highly touted prospect or someone who's expected and it's already baked into that price, it could go the other way, right? Really quick during that span as well, right? So for sure. Like a good example of that is like before last season, I bought a gold refractor of Cavan Biggio, Bowman Chrome first auto. And I'm so glad I sold it before the season started when it like doubled in price. Like everyone was optimistic about the young Jays lineup, right? And maybe it's a little lucky on my part, but Biggio out of the 3, Bichette, Vladdy, and Biggio, like he didn't perform the way the way we all hoped he would, right?
Right.
So yeah, it could go either way, but I'm pretty bullish. I think we're all bullish on Bichette. We're all bullish on Vladdy. And Shohei's definitely an exciting player to watch as well. Cool.
Yep.
All right, double down. We should always do a double down segment after we do a dead wrong segment to make us feel better.
I know.
I think that's a good balance. All right, all good choices. Okay, let's end off the show then, as we normally do, with our favorite segment, Pick One. And this week, it's our regular edition of Pick One, which is where we choose 2 players or 2 cards or 2 sets, and then we debate which one we would rather invest in. All right, so who wants to go first this week?
I'll start us off again, as usual. And this one is I picked this purposely because it's very common in I guess in the hobby world, in the baseball world. And I already know your guys' answers, but I wanna expand on it, make you guys think a bit before you guys select it, because I should have done more research on it. I don't know the exact populations of each card, but it's basically Fernando Tatis Jr. is the player, and I'm putting up his Topps Chrome Sapphire PSA 10. With his foil board from the complete set, 2019 complete set foil board. So the foil board is numbered to, I believe, 162. And a PSA 10 is a pop 6, I believe. Wow, might be a pop 7, might be a little higher. But then the Sapphire has a lot higher pop. I don't know the exact pop count.
I think it's around 200. Maybe
200,
225, yeah.
But it trades for very similar price because there's not a lot of foil board sales. Because it's not as desirable.
Oh, really?
And people were like arguing. People were like, "You're stupid. Way. Are you kidding me?" And if you think about it, and that's why it's like, I know you guys are going to pick the foil board. And, but I just want to say the Sapphire is a lot more liquid, right? A lot more people are in that game. It sells so easily, right? So, and the price fluctuates too. It's one of those cards where if Tatis value goes up, Chrome Colors and Sapphire go skyrocketing first. Right? Before a foil board, for instance. Because you're waiting on comps, but there's no comps. Right? So it's like, and then the desirability as well, right? Of the foil board versus the Sapphire. I think a lot more people like the Sapphire product than a complete set foil board, for instance, because it's a lot more niche, right? So it's like, they're the exact same image, but different card numbers, different card overall, both beautiful. I've run into the problem where, you know what? I had to choose one, right? So I want to know what you guys would have done if you were in my situation.
This is a great one, because this is the one that I've been battling ever since I've been trying to get into a bigger Tatis and just lock it up. I love the Sapphire. Like, I think Sapphire cards in general look amazing. The look of the Tatis Sapphire, just as a collector, it's one of my favorites. And I think one of the all-time modern great cards is the Acuna Sapphire. So, like, big fan of Sapphire. I think the pop number is low enough, and I think Hyung is absolutely right about liquidity. This is kind of like, other than the gold paper, like these are one of the bigger liquid cards in baseball. Like, they can go to $5,000. You can sell it like that. You can just sell it. So I can see that point. After battling this, I still don't have either. I would love to have either or, but I don't have a $6,000 budget to just spend in cash. So I'm trying to target one, and you guys know I've been targeting the foil board, and I eventually chose the foil board because I wanted to get something long term. Like, when I'm getting a bigger Tatis, I'm not selling it next year. I'm not selling it in 2 years. I'm trying to lock it up. And I know the Sapphire is liquid, and I know the potential in Sapphire. But I feel foil board's really underrated. Like, people don't really like Topps Complete Set. Foil board is on the map, but we were blessed that Topps used the flagship image in Topps Complete Tatis. So it's a flagship image. It's numbered. If you're trying to get numbered Tatis, anything with that flagship image, you're spending a lot of money. I don't know what's the most basic number. It'll be the gold number to 219. I think that's going for like $1,400 right now. A purple chrome is like $6,000. Like, you're spending a lot of money, and to get something that I think the last number, it was like Pop 8, but it's definitely under 10.
Yeah. And
to get like a pretty banging long term, and I don't know how many more pops of these are going to come out, because the foil board is really hard to grade. No matter how niche it is, locking it up in a safe, I like the foil board over the two. And it's like a 55-45. Like, it's barely winning over the Sapphire. It's not like I'm, it's a landslide. I'm choosing it over Sapphire, but I'm barely choosing it over the Sapphire.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know. You might be surprised, guys. I'm going Sapphire because I think it's your end goal with Tatis, right? Like, I agree. Foil board is beautiful. Sapphire is beautiful. I love numbered cards, of course, which foil board is. But if I'm trying to lock up a Tatis, it's gonna be a Bowman Chrome first auto of a color. And
Right.
and if I could get my hands on a Sapphire, and he does well, and the prices jump, I know it's liquid enough to sell, and then use those funds to hopefully find a good deal for some autograph card. Hopefully a Bowman Chrome, if not Topps Chrome. So my play is like the Sapphire is not the be all end all for me. Like for you, it seems like the foil board is something that you would want to lock up in a safe for a while, Johnny, right? For me, it's like,
Right.
I would love to just have the Sapphire because it looks great when you have it, when you own it. But I don't want to be so attached to it that I don't want to get rid of it, and when the timing is right, I would try to use that as a bargaining chip to get a higher or better Fernando Tatis card, in my opinion, which is some kind of high grade auto. So
that's interesting because you guys both had like the, I guess, one side or the other, and
yeah,
and it's both valid points, right? I actually chose this because I was hoping that we discuss this because these are real life situations that I think
absolutely.
are people could get game perspective in it. And for me, this was an actual real life situation. I had both. I had that Tatis Sapphire we talked about in an earlier episode that we crossed from BGS, that 9.5. So that ended up PSA 10ing. And then I had a Tatis foil that I ended up getting for cheap, really cheap before pre-COVID, that I ended up keeping because I love foil boards, specifically in PSA cases, specifically for foil board. I had the Acuna foil board in a BGS case. And honestly, it doesn't shine as much. But I was hoping that you guys had both perspectives because I was in this situation. And I obviously chose foil board for mine. And I sold the Sapphire because of all the reasons you said. Right. It was liquid. The price was right. I took the profit. And then on the flip side, John, I took the foil board because I wanted it long term. Lock in the safe. I know that, I didn't care about the next comp. If it was cheap enough, I would have bought the next foil board and I would have tried to get the 6 foil boards that existed, right? At that point, if it's selling for cheap, right? But I was hoping that you guys both had both perspectives because I kind of witnessed both, right? And that's why I like both of these cards for those reasons, and I thought it would be a good discussion talk, but I thought it was gonna be a sweep with the foil board, to be honest. Right? So but I'm gonna, obviously my move was foil board. That's what I actually did. If I look back and say would I do it again, I'd probably do it again. I'd probably take profit on the Sapphire and then keep the foil board long term, right? So you guys made a combination of exactly what I was gonna do, right? So
yeah.
But there's these situations in other cards if you have the budget for one card. So it's just another perspective that I wanted to share with you guys.
Yeah,
good one. Yeah,
and I think Clark's side of this is a great tip to a lot of listeners that are trying to figure out this, quote unquote investment game for sports cards. If your end goal is to try to get into a $5,000 card or a $10,000 card or something huge, and you're not one of these, or whatever your space is, the steps that you take, I think buying liquid is so key. Like, I think you're absolutely right on about that. Like, you don't want to, even though it's an awesome card, you don't want to get into niche cards hoping those are stepping stones into your bigger cards. It's just not, it's going to be a tougher journey, right? Like, getting into liquid cards as much as possible to get to the end goal. So I think, number one, it's important to figure out what the end goal is. And then number two, how to get there. Right. I think Clark makes a lot of sense in going after liquid cards, right? And that's exactly why liquid cards do so well, is because that's what other people are doing, right? So,
right.
Yeah, good one. Yeah,
that was a really good one.
All right.
All right,
Johnny.
Yeah, I'll go next. So, in honor of our private chat group, it seems like everybody is just jonesing to rip right now for some reason. So I'm going to do a Ripper's Dream
Walmart.
1v1.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's hunting at Walmart right now. It's crazy.
Nice.
So we're going to go, you have to rip, but you're given this for free. So if you're going to give one or the other. So you're getting a box or a case of 2020 basketball flawless. I don't know what, the new one's not out yet. Like 2020 is not out yet, but I'd imagine resale will be $10,000 to $13,000.
But no resell. You got to rip.
You got to rip. Yeah.
You got to rip
That's
it.
the
Yeah.
rule.
It's not for investment. You're ripping.
Yeah.
This is for ripping. So one case of flawless, like one box, or whatever the equivalent money is, 2020 Prism basketball hobby. So that'd be like, let's say 10 boxes of 2020 Prism basketball with LaMelo, or 2020 flawless LaMelo. Pick one. You got to rip it. You get it for free. So there's no guilt. Which one you choosing?
Oh, man. This is going to be a game time decision for me. You could go with Clark.
Okay. I have a feeling I know what Hyung's going to do, actually. But I'm going to go with Prism. Like, it's hard. Yeah, and if I was going to get it for free, I'm like, oh, flawless would be a sweet rip, like when else am I going to get an opportunity to go that high end? And but at the same time, like, the number of hits that you can get with Prism, multiple boxes of Prism, is what appeals to me. Like the different parallels. Like, I like collecting and ripping different hot rookies that I can just trade or sell later on. So the opportunities, I feel like, are there for more flips, but maybe like that super high end card is more. I won't get that opportunity with the hobby prisms, right? Maybe, right. But like I would in flawless, which would be amazing if you went for the flawless and you got like a one of one something, right?
But
even
LaMelo RPA at a 99.
Exactly.
Raw, I'd probably go for like 25 Gs or something crazy.
Man,
right?
that would be crazy. Yeah, like exactly. But I feel like with my luck, I probably won't get the RPA of LaMelo. So I'm like, I might as well like diversify my risk and get a number of hobby boxes and start collecting hot parallels. So that's my reasoning. I'm going with the hobby prism just based off my personality.
Nice.
That makes sense. Saw that coming.
My mind is telling me, the prism boxes, but my heart's just saying, you gotta go flawless. What are you, insane? It's like, for me, it's like if I'm given a box to rip, I've ripped my share of prism. It's prism basketball is tough too. It's not, but there's some massive cards as well. So obviously the safer bet is going to be Prism. You're probably going to do well. But and Clark, you're probably referring that I was going to pick the flawless, right? Like, you knew that. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's 100% flawless.
Yeah.
I was hoping a little NT magic, but flawless will do. Like, I think you could pull a game-changing card that like is insane, right? Like any LaMelo RPA. I remember the Zion RPAs in flawless were going insane at release as well. And you're never gonna get to rip that kind. And when you're ripping at that level, it's a different game. It's totally I mean, hobby boxes are no joke. If you're ripping Prism hobby boxes, especially multiples, that's a pretty fun rip. Like I would love to experience that, but there's nothing like hitting absolutely monsters in a monster set, right? Like, and I think if you're doing it for free, might as well, right? Might as well have that experience and go big. But like I said, I'm the gambling type. I like the risk, so I'm going flawless.
Nice, we saw that coming.
Too boring.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Like, if this is obviously hypothetical, we're kind of having some fun with it. If I was literally presented this in real life, I would probably think I'm going to pick the 10 Prism boxes because of blah, 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 like odds and being a little bit safe and the amount of hits you're going to get and all that stuff. But I would hope, and this is going to be my choice for the hypothetical game, I'm going to pick flawless because
let's go.
To have that, to be guilt-free and to experience something that you would probably never get to experience. Like, I don't think ever in this game, this sports card investing thing, or as a collector, I'm ever going to rip one of those boxes like flawless. I'm never going to do it. I'm not going to buy it for 10 grand. So to have that opportunity for free, something that I never thought I'd get to do, I'd hope if it ever were to present itself, I would pick Flawless. I'm going with Flawless just for the experience.
Nice.
Makes sense too. Yeah. Guess I'm the only practical one here, though.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Even with the free box. Okay. All right. I like those. Okay. So this one's, I think it's going to be a fun one too. My 1v1 or my pick one pair is Luka Doncic Silver Prism PSA 8 versus Luka Doncic Base Prism PSA 10. Oof. So we always say this, right? Choose the card over the grade, but let's put it to the test. Which one are you gonna go for? You know, if it's a base prism, and the comps are pretty similar. That's why I chose the PSA 8. It's about $1,000, let's say, for us.
Why is it a PSA 8? Like, what happened to it?
That's
bad surface.
Gotta be.
I'm like asking person, corners or a bad corner, right?
Yeah, you can ask PSA later.
That's
in
tough.
this hypothetical situation, but yeah,
PSA 8's tough. It's a tough grade. But you're right. It's like buy the card, not the grade, right? Like
silver.
Yeah, but this one's really tough because,
do you guys know the pop on the PSA 8?
I don't, but
by any chance?
It's probably low.
Under 2,000, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
Less.
Yeah, way less. We're talking it's more rare than PSA 9 probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Yeah. It probably more rare than PSA 10s too. But that's a tough card.
PSA 8 is tough,
PSA
man.
8. Give me an 8.5 at least. Give me that half that PSA gives. But I think this was the toughest out of all three, to be honest, because like it makes sense to go PSA 10, I think, in the situation of the liquid game where you could really cash out fast. So it's that same scenario that we talked about with the Sapphire and the foil board, I think. But I think for me, it's like I just love the silver prisms. I think they shine, they hit differently. I would even consider cracking it out and just enjoying it in a one touch or whatever, right? Or just having it in as a personal collection item. I would go silver.
Okay.
Silver Luka. Yeah, I just think, like I said, it's tough for me to justify. Let's just say that was a $10,000 card last season. In a PSA 10, right? So it's like for it to be $800 because someone said it was a PSA
right.
versus PSA 8 versus PSA 10, right? So it's like I go back to that and I'm just like, you know what? I'll take the Luka for $800, or the Luka Silver for $800. Like it's a steal for me, right? So I'm going to go silver Luka 8. It's a tough one though because I do like the liquidity of the other one where you're not going to get tossed around. The value is what it is, and you have the ability to cash out whenever you kind of want, right? So if it's on a high note because Luka's having a great year, you can cash that out. Whereas the silver, you're going to look for comps all over the place. People are going to lowball you because it's a PSA 8. If you're thinking of flipping it, you're probably not going to do great. You're probably going to do better with the PSA 10. But for me, I'm holding the silver.
Okay.
I'm holding it in my hand every day. It's a beautiful card.
It is. Silvers are great. And just to give you more context, not that it matters, but the pop count for silver PSA 8 is 256. So not a lot of them given that grade.
256.
Out of the 4,600 graded by PSA, Luka Doncic Silver Prisms. And then, of course, the PSA 10 base is almost at 18,000 out of the 33,000.
Jeez Louise.
33,000 graded total. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Johnny.
Man, that's tough. PSA 8 for ultra modern. I think that I would imagine that sells less for raw.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're buying raw. You're probably hoping it may be a 10. Probably get a 9. You're definitely not thinking 8. So, that's tough. I'm gonna go silver, and it's not because it's not a collector thing. It's not a buy the card, not the grade. I'm still concerned. Like I've been really trying to study what the heck is happening with base right now, and I want to mention this in some future shows and continue to study it. But Yeah, I'm a little concerned where base is headed right now. Like, even if we're talking short term in the next 6 to 12 months, if somebody had $800 and choose one of these cards for like a flip, I'm not that confident in base. Like, I feel like base is going to continue to get a little bit hurt. I don't know where the floor is, like the how much more it's going to come down. But I think silver, even though it's a PSA 8 and it's not desirable, I feel like the value would hold up because silver is now, we talked about this too, silver is separating itself in terms of multiplier versus the base. So that would mean the PSA 8 would also continue to hold its value, if not get larger as we continue down the road. So from an investment standpoint, if you're choosing the two cards, I get PSA. Right now, the base is a little bit more liquid, but I still think you're going to be the winner 6 to 12 months from now with the PSA 8 silver. Aside from it being shiny and it looking great and like buy the card, I think investment wise, I feel like the PSA 8 short term and long term. We all know what's going on with like LeBron refractors and like, you know, Dwayne Wade refractors. I mean, that's a different era because it's Topps Chrome, but regardless, in the future, you know, if Luka, you know, we're talking about one of the most iconic of the modern era. Luka could go down as one of the most iconic, and then we got the Prism card, and you have a silver. Yeah, short or long, I like the PSA 8.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, based on our previous discussion, as we were talking about with the liquidity of Sapphire and foil board, like I was heavily leaning to just going with the base PSA 10, just for the liquidity mostly. But as you guys were discussing, I'm changing my mind. It's going to be a sweep. It's a sweep. PSA 8 silver. And you know why?
Got him.
My reasoning is that, like, if you look at its equivalent, rough equivalent of like the older basketball cards, Topps Chrome and the Topps Chrome Refractor, right? So let's say Topps Chrome is like the base and the Topps Chrome Refractor is like the silver. So, you know, there's the refractors, Topps Chromes is obviously much more rare, and just like the silvers are much more rare than the base. And I think usually PSA 9 and PSA 10, like the rules are different for those grades. Like, and then PSA 8 and below, the value just completely drops off in most cases, right? Like no one wants PSA 8. You know, Hyung, you were just joking, like, why can't it be just an 8.5? No one wants a PSA 8 because it's just a bad grade in general, right? It might as well be a PSA 2, you know? So, but I feel like the rules are slightly different for refractors and for silver prisms. Like if you look at, I've been, you know, on the side, I've been telling you guys, I've been looking for like a Carmelo Anthony Topps Chrome refractor, right? And
I was looking today too.
And yeah, like just the rarity of refractors. Like I wouldn't mind a PSA 8 if the price was right. Or like obviously like let's go higher. LeBron James Topps Chrome refractor. You're not going to care if it's a PSA 8. You know, like if you have it, it's going to be sweet because it's so rare. Yeah. It's LeBron, right? I think it's the same rules kind of will apply for Luka Doncic. If he has the career like LeBron, for example, a Hall of Famer career, you know, a silver PSA 8, I don't think you're going to care as much. I think the value is still going to be there, and it's going to be way cheaper than a PSA 9 and way cheaper than a PSA 10. So for some people, that budget price point is perfect, the PSA 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just kind of talking it out with you guys right now and listening to your arguments. I changed my mind just right now. So sweet.
Nice.
All right,
that was a good one, man.
Yeah, I thought all of our pick ones this week was pretty tough. So okay, awesome show, guys. Thanks again to all our listeners and subscribers. We appreciate all your support. And if you are a listener from Toronto, we'll be at the show I think on Friday, November 12th. So maybe we can meet you there in person if you're a listener of the podcast. And for everyone else, we'll be back with a new episode next Tuesday. So see you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cartguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.